It's me, the Rhino, for Survival Skills 101 tip of the day. Today's tip is on the normalcy bias. Normalcy bias represents what a person's mental state is, and pretty much everybody's mental state in America, before, during, and after a disaster. You know, a lot of people are just sheep and they just go through life keeping their head down like an ostrich in the sand, thinking that everything is going to be this way for all time. There's never going to be a problem, and they have an inability to cope with the thought that things could go bad in the future. I'm giving you this, the normalcy bias thought process today because when I started Survival Skills 101, I understand that things could change from how they are today. So it's very important that you have the opportunity to think about the fact that the way things are now aren't necessarily how it's going to be in the future. It's really what it is it's a person's inability to cope with change. They don't want to think about change. They want to keep things the way they are. And they think that our government is going to keep things exactly the way they are for all time. So that what happens basically is you get really optimistic and you don't think that things could ever go bad. And I want to tell you, nothing could be further from the truth. You know, I am a hardcore realist, all right? I'm not negative and I'm not really positive. I try to look things realistically. And some people call me a weirdo, and you know, they might be right on a certain level, but I always look at things realistically. I used to be a cop, and let me tell you about a cop's normalcy bias. A cop always has the attitude that everybody is a bad person, and it's their job to find all those bad people and sift through all the bad people. And in fact, everybody's bad, they just haven't been caught yet. That's their normalcy bias. And once I got done being a cop and I looked at people and I saw that there were a lot of good people in the world, people who weren't criminals. And I went, wow, that's really interesting that my thought process changed as soon as I got out of a certain profession. My normalcy bias, I want to talk about this, is that in the big scheme of disasters, because I talk about certain disasters happening, and I have my favorites, and I'm sure that you have your favorites too. My least favorite thought of a disaster happening was a meteor hitting the earth. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought, well, you know, theoretically it could happen, but it's not going to happen for a couple more million years, so you know, why even think about that? Until a meteorite hit Russia this year and didn't cause much damage, but I saw, holy crud, a meteor really could hit the earth and cause a lot of havoc. Now, is a big meteorite or an asteroid going to hit the earth? I don't know, but you know what? It opened my eyes that, wow, that really could happen. Well, here's the problem. If you've never lived through something, then you don't really think it's ever going to happen. You know, the Great Depression, for instance, people never thought that there was going to be a real problem in the 1930s until the Great Depression hit. And even after the Depression, people who lived through that time were never the same again, and they always prepped and they always prepared and they always tried to predict the future because they didn't want to have the pain of living through the Great Depression again. You know, in Nazi Germany, the Jews were being persecuted by Adolf Hitler, and a lot of them stayed behind because their normalcy bias said to them, oh, things are going to get better. This is just a one-off thing. It'll settle down and things will go back. And what happens? Eventually, Adolf Hitler shipped a lot of the Jews off to concentration camps. By that time, it's too late to go, oh, maybe I should leave the country or do something. But a lot of people did. And thank goodness they did, because they saw the writing on the wall. Well, people of America typically don't look around, and people of the world don't typically look around as well. One of the ways, and I've known about the normalcy bias for a long time, and being realistic, I'm going to share with you a story that I had while living in Las Vegas. You know, my wife and I bought a house in Las Vegas when we moved there, and it was the worst experience I've ever had. The people who sold us the house, the mortgage people, were downright dishonest, and they kept telling us, oh, you're not going to get the loan, so you need to do this, and you need to do this, and you need to do this, and they kept working us to do things that I felt was unethical, and finally we said, we're not going to do that, and miraculously we got a loan for a house. And I want to tell you, there were times right after that my wife and I sat down and we both cried. Now, I know I'm a manly man, but it was such an excruciating thing to go through that I was a bit suspicious about how we could get a loan if our credit score wasn't going to match us getting the house. Well, over 2 years, I saw the writing on the wall in Las Vegas. And this was, I don't know, about 2003, 2004, something like that. And I saw the writing on the wall, and I said to my wife, maybe we should move out and go back to Idaho because I don't like what's going on in the Las Vegas area. I think something bad is going to happen. But there was no reason for me to say that because the news was always portraying, oh, growth in Las Vegas. Well, you know what happened? We sold our house. I made $98,000 off of my house in 2 years. We bought it, it went up $98,000, we sold it, and right after that, the housing market dropped out of Las Vegas. Now, I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you that I saw the writing on the wall, and I did something about it, and I came out great. If not, if we hadn't sold our house, we would be underwater right now in that house that we bought. And I looked and saw that the guy who bought my house had to give it up for foreclosure. I think he short-sold it or something like that and lost his money in the deal. And I was just thankful that I looked around and saw that. That's me being a realist. So it's very important that in society, you need to look around. I'm not telling you that you should be paranoid. Not going to say that. And I'm not saying that you should have the attitude that things are going to go bad. But what I am saying is don't always sit and think that the way things are good now are always going to be good in the future. 2008, when we had the Great Recession, that should wake people up. Oh, but things are getting better in America. Really? Can you prove that? Can you absolutely guarantee that? I don't think a lot of people can. So you need to prepare for the future. One of the things that I always say is have food storage. Get that food storage going. Why? Because in an economic downturn, at least you can eat, and it's very important. And let's pretend that I'm completely wrong. Rhino, you are so wrong. All you do is spew negativity, and it's nothing like that is going to happen. Well, if you have food storage and nothing happens, at least you still have food, and it's no big deal. I look at the Twin Towers, the 9/11 incident. A lot of people were in both of those towers, and a plane hit one of the towers, and the people in the other towers, because of the normalcy bias, they decided to go back to their office. And then that second plane hit, and things went bad for them. You can't sit and go, wow, well, it happened to somebody else, but it's not going to happen to me. You got to think about these kinds of things. So again, I think food storage is very important. One more thing I want to say is think for yourself. If you don't like what I'm saying right now, it's okay, but think for yourself. Look at the writing on the wall for certain things. If you see something positive, fantastic. If you see something negative, don't just push it away and go, oh, that's never going to happen. What am I saying? Well, you know what? Our currency, the government has huge national debt, $16–17 trillion. They're forecasting it to go up to $20 trillion. And the government just prints money all the time. And we are on the precipice of something bad possibly happening. Now you go, oh gosh, you're worrying. It's no big deal. Well, you know what? I sit and look at that and go, wow, writing on the wall. Well, we got to prepare for those things. You have car insurance. Why? In case you crash your car and you have to use your insurance. People go, oh, I don't need any insurance. I'm never going to crash my car. That would be a normalcy bias kind of situation. So again, don't fall into these traps. Think for yourself. Play what if. What if this happens? And the last thing is, if you sit and think about these things, have a plan, and then have a plan B in case things go bad. Again, don't be one of the sheep that just goes and puts their head in the sand and go, oh, nothing bad is ever going to happen. That's what happened to the Jews in Nazi Germany. I'm not saying that anything's going to happen here, but if it does, at least I have a plan to be okay.